Never stop reading the Bible. We're about to dive into one of the most powerful, most incredible visions of renewal in the entire Bible. So glad you're here for this explaining.
All right, so we're going to be looking at Ezekiel, chapters 43 through 45. Now, to really get this, you've got to remember the context. Israel has been absolutely devastated. I mean, the temple is gone, the people are in exile, it's the lowest of the low. So this vision, it's not just about, rebuilding some walls, it's about rebuilding an entire relationship from the ashes. So where do you even start? That's the huge question Ezekiel is about to answer for us. Okay, I want you to picture this. Imagine the most stunning, incredible building you've ever seen, but it's totally empty. It's got no life, no soul. That's kind of what the temple was like in Ezekiel's vision before this. See, God's very presence, the one thing that gave it all its meaning, had left. So the big looming question wasn't just, what do we do now? It was so much deeper. It was, how on earth can that glory, that very life, ever possibly come back? And that brings us to the very start of our journey today. This is it. This is the single most important event in this whole vision. Seriously, this is the moment that all of heaven and earth had been holding its breath for. The glory of God finally returns. And this right here, this gets to the absolute heart of the matter. You know all those chapters before this with the super detailed measurements and blueprints for the temple? Well, all of that was just setting the stage. Because think about it. A temple, no matter how amazing it looks, is just stone and wood. What makes it holy, what gives it actual life, is God's presence. Without that, it's just an empty shell. And in chapter 43, you can just see this incredible step-by-step process play out. First, the space is prepared, it's made ready. Then, and only then, the glory of God arrives and it just fills the temple. And right after that, a promise from God for the future, a new covenant. And it all leads to this climax, the dedication of the altar, which is the very heart of worship. It's like a perfect blueprint for how to return to God.
And here's what's so crucial to understand. This isn't just hitting the reset button and going back to the way things were. No, this is something completely new. God is promising that that old, painful cycle of sin and failure that led to the exile in the first place, it's broken. This is a true restoration, building a brand new foundation for a relationship that isn't going to crumble like the old one did. Okay, so God's glory is back? Awesome. But that brings up a pretty serious question, right? Who is actually worthy to serve in a place that's now so incredibly holy? Well, chapter 44 gives us the answer, and it's a tough one.
And what we see here is a hard line drawn in the sand. There is zero middle ground. The priests who had failed in their duties, they're demoted. They can still serve, sure, but they're barred from the inner sanctuary. It's a constant, visible reminder of their past failures. But the priests who stayed faithful? Wow. They are brought in closer than ever before. They're rewarded with the absolute highest honor, serving God directly. So these faithful priests, they aren't just, temple workers. They are the guardians of holiness itself. They oversee the sacrifices, they uphold the sacred rules, and their reward for all this? It's not land. It's not gold or status. Their inheritance is God Himself. Just let that sink in for a second. Their entire purpose, everything they need, is found in Him and Him alone.
All right, so now the camera, so to speak, starts to pull back. The vision expands in this really dramatic way. It moves from the temple, beyond the priests, and now it's zooming out to cover the entire nation and the very land they live on. This restoration, it's about to touch every single part of life. And this brings up a huge question. One we still wrestle with today, don't we? Is faith just something that happens inside the four walls of a holy building? Chapter 45 gives a loud, clear answer. Absolutely not. This vision shows us that God's holiness isn't meant to be contained. It's meant to break out and redefine everything. And the first way we see this happen is literally on the map. A special sacred district is carved out right in the middle of the whole country. Now, this isn't just some clever city planning. It's basically theology turned into geography. It's a physical, you can't miss it statement that God is the true, literal center of the nation's life. So you get this incredible ripple effect of holiness spreading outward, and it all starts, of course, right at the very heart, the temple. From that center point, it radiates out to define that whole sacred district.
the land that's set apart for God and for the people who serve him.
But it doesn't stop there either. That holiness just keeps expanding until it covers all of Israel. It starts demanding things like justice from its leaders and fairness in its economy. The message is clear. God's rule isn't meant to be kept in a box. It's meant to govern everything. So, what does this God-centered society actually look like on a practical level? Well, it means the land itself is laid out with God right at the middle. It means rulers are held to God's standard of justice, not just what's politically convenient. It means the very rhythms of life, the holidays, the way business is done, are all refocused on worship. Basically, every single piece of life gets reoriented from being about us to being all about God.
You know, when you take a step back and look at the whole picture, this vision in Ezekiel is just breathtaking. It's a total top-to-bottom restoration of presence, purpose, and purity. It redefines everything, from the altar inside the temple all the way out to the weights and measures used in the marketplace. Literally nothing's left untouched. And that leaves us with a pretty big question to think about, doesn't it? What does this picture of complete, God-centered restoration challenge in our own lives, in our own priorities, today? Thanks so much for exploring this incredible vision with us today. This has been a production of the Center Studio.